There's a photograph, well, not a photograph exactly, a description from a lab notebook in the early 1970s of an animal that should not have existed. Perfect coat, no scars, no wounds, calm, unhurried movements. By every physical measure, the healthiest individual in the entire population. And also, functionally, already extinct. It never fought. It never mated. It never once interacted with another member of its own species if it could help it. The scientist who found it started calling these individuals the beautiful ones. And what's strange isn't that they existed. It's that there were eventually more of them than anything else left alive in the room. We'll come back to them. Because to understand what a beautiful one actually is, you have to go back to the beginning to a box, 8 mice, and a promise that nothing inside it would ever go wrong. In 1968, a scientist named John Calhoun built a sealed enclosure inside a US government lab and gave it a name that sounded almost biblical, Universe 25. Unlimited food, unlimited water, no predators, no disease. Climate held perfectly steady. Calhoun calculated the space could comfortably support close to 3,000 mice. He put in 8, sealed the lid, started counting days. Here's the part almost nobody expects. The population didn't just grow. It thrived at first, almost unnervingly well, doubling every 7 weeks. 600 mice by day 300. If the experiment had ended there, it would have been remembered as a success story. It didn't end there. Because a colony isn't just a head count, it's a set of roles defenders. Mothers, mates, rivals in Universe 25 had a fixed number of those roles, no matter how many mice showed up to fill them. Watch what happens when the roles run out before the population does. The males who couldn't win territory didn't leave to find new ground. There was no new ground, so they just stopped trying, drifting into open floor space, doing nothing for hours. Mice who got attacked wouldn't even defend themselves anymore. They'd absorb it, shuffle a few feet away, and go still again. At the same time, same shortage. Opposite reaction, a second group of males became almost feral with intensity, forcing their way into nests, ignoring courtship entirely, undeterred by fights they kept losing. Same cause, 2 completely different collapses. Then, a third pattern showed up that nobody had a name for yet, even with identical food stations spread evenly across the enclosure. Mice packed themselves into just a handful of them fighting for space at crowded feeders, while nearly empty ones sat a few feet away, completely ignored. Calhoun called it the behavioral sink. A place became desirable for no reason except that other mice were already standing there. And this is where it stopped being strange and started being disturbing. Mothers exhausted from defending nests the males had stopped helping to protect began failing at the one job evolution built them for. Litters abandoned mid-raising, pups left in the wrong compartments, unrecognized by their own mothers. In the worst sections, fewer than 1 in 20 pups survived long enough to be weaned. So territorial collapse, behavioral extremes, parental collapse. You'd assume the worst outcome of an experiment like this would be violence. It wasn't. The worst outcome was the one that looked completely fine from the outside. Remember the animal from the beginning? Flawless coat, no scars, no interest in anything at all. Here's what actually produced it. A generation was born into a colony where every social role was already occupied before they were old enough to compete for one. No territory left to claim, no status left to fight for, no mate worth courting, because courtship itself had stopped meaning anything. So they simply opted out. They ate, they slept, they groomed themselves for hours at a time, which is exactly why their coats were immaculate. Grooming was the only behavior left that didn't require another mouse to exist. Calhoun's team eventually realized these weren't a handful of outliers. In the colony's final years, they became the majority, an entire population at the peak of physical health that had quietly stopped being a population at all. The math after that is almost anticlimactic. Total headcount peaked around 2,200, under half of what the enclosure could hold. The last successful birth happened around day 920. After that, nothing. Just the beautiful ones, grooming in silence, while old age did the rest. By 1973, Universe 25 was empty. Now here's the part that gets left out of almost every retelling of this story. The popular version says comfort is what killed them. Too easy a life, and a species destroys itself. That takes spread everywhere. Essays about cities, sermons, warnings about modern comfort, with the beautiful ones as the mascot for a soft, doomed civilization. That's not what Calhoun's own notes actually argue. And before we go further, a caveat worth saying out loud. 8 mice in a sealed box is not a scale model of human civilization, and nothing here should be read as proof that comfort or ease is going to end us. Mice don't build institutions. They don't invent new work. What follows is Calhoun's actual hypothesis about his own data, not a verdict on humanity. His real claim was narrower and stranger. The colony didn't collapse from having too much. It collapsed from running out of something abundance literally cannot manufacture, enough meaningful roles for the number of individuals who needed one. Once population outgrows the available positions defender, provider, mate, caregiver, you don't get a peaceful surplus. You get exactly what Universe 25 produced, a population with nothing left to do and no way left to matter to one another. Food was never the scarce resource. Water was never the scarce resource. Purpose was. And there was no dispenser that refilled that. Calhoun didn't walk away from this, believing it was inevitable. Either, he spent the rest of his career doing the opposite of doom, saying building new enclosures, changing variables, hunting for the one thing that could let a population keep expanding without physical space to expand into. He called it ideational generativity, the idea that once a world can't grow outward, it can still grow through ideas, relationships, new reasons to need each other. Which brings us back to that photograph, an animal with a perfect coat, no wounds, no scars, and also, functionally, already gone because nothing in its world had ever asked anything of it. That's the real ending of Universe 25. Not that comfort is dangerous, that a species can die from having nothing left that it's needed for. We're not mice. We're not sealed inside anyone's box. But the question the beautiful ones leave behind isn't really about them. It's about what happens to any of us, in any world, comfortable or not, the moment nothing is asked of us anymore.